Hello, hi, hello everyone, and sorry for the minor technical issue that we had this afternoon. I would like to welcome you all to our fourth EDI Edu webinar. EDI Edu is a co-funded Erasmus Plus project led by a consortium of 12 partner organizations from several countries across the EU, and we have Ireland, Italy, Finland, Germany, and Greece on board. And our set of webinars, they are integrated with the massive open online course we launched last October. And today's webinar, the topic is integrating key competence framework for enhanced EDI practices. And we have two esteemed speakers with us. We have Hazel Israel. She is an education and skills advisor from Bantani Education. And then we have Olena Bekh. And Olena is a senior human capital development expert and coordinator for innovative teaching and learning from the European Training Foundation. And today's discussion are being recorded and will be made available on our MOOC, on the platform. And as we said, the discussions of today, it is focused on EU competence framework and their integration within the EDI topics, along with the presentation of Scaffold. And the two presentations will be followed by a short Q&A. And during the webinar, all participants will be muted, but you are more than welcome to turn on your camera if you can, and ask any questions in the chat during or after the presentation. And with this being said, I would like to thank you again for your attention, and I hand over to Hazel. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and thank you also for inviting me to talk to you today. I'm very happy to be here. So I shall start my presentation. So to tell you something about myself, I work for Bantani Education, and all our work is mediated through the European Key Competence Frameworks. Originally, we worked almost entirely with Entrecom, but more and more we are finding ourselves co-working these frameworks in the sense that entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship requires digital tools and technology and elements of personal and social competence. But also in terms of our twin transitions, the green and digital transitions, the ways in which we create new ways of doing things are all underpinned by innovation and creativity. So even if we think we're just working on green comp or digcomp, very often the work is underpinned by the creativity and the spotting opportunities and the perseverance set out in Entrecomp. So we increasingly, so that's where my experience with these frameworks comes from. So in my presentation, I'm going to talk you through the different competence frameworks and the benefits of using them to be more equal, more diverse, and more inclusive. Okay, so European Key Competence Frameworks. I've just told you what they are, what they're called, the four of them. So what do they do? What are they for? Why were they created? So they define the core competence and they set out the specific knowledge, skills, and attitudes which are considered to be essential for effective performance in all areas, in terms of digital skills, social and personal competence, and sustainability. We use the frameworks because they can save a lot of time and anguish. They're an agreement point, if you like. They establish benchmarks and set standardized benchmarks for skills and behaviors, helping to align expectations and practice and assessment and reporting across educational contexts and professional and social contexts. So certainly when we started using Entrecomp, and still the way we use it now, we see it very much as a golden thread that runs throughout life from very young ages to probably when we die, from the cradle to the grave, if you like, but also across the different contexts. They are truly transversal in the sense that they are competencies which we apply in all areas of our lives. And also have it, I'm not sure how much collaborative work you may have done in the past, but it takes a lot of time to negotiate and define terms and agree what it is that everybody's talking about. It can take a significant amount of time. So the frameworks can lend efficiency because we have these agreed standards that we can all work to. And something that we find very exciting is that they can create vehicles through which it's easier to collaborate with people from different contexts, from different phases of education, and also for different purposes. So also the frameworks are very useful in that they provide structured guidance, guiding learning and development, and they're also very flexible. They can be adapted to very different projects, purposes, contexts. They've been designed for flexibility, so they can be used in many different ways. For example, when I was working recently at a university, we used Entrecomp to develop a doctoral program, postgraduate certificates. More recently, we're using the frameworks with very young children in early years settings, secondary schools, vet colleges, and we can really see the benefit of the consistent and continuous use of these frameworks. So they were developed to support lifelong learning. They also can ensure equity and consistency in the sense that assessment and development becomes much more equitable when we are all working to the same standards. I'm neurodiverse myself, and one of the things I find very valuable about the frameworks is that it articulates performance. It gives language to performance. And so I can gauge where I am currently, but also what my next steps will need to be in terms of developing, but also my journey, you know, what the skills that I had along the way. Also, I mentioned the twin transitions. The frameworks are critical to address our societal needs and challenges at the moment. A few linked to EDI are the digital divide and enhancing employability, also aligning with personal growth. How do we support people through a life of a portfolio career? It's no longer the case that people will get one job and stay in that job for the whole of their working lives. Increasingly, people are moving from different jobs, but sometimes even across sectors. And so the consistency of the focus on these competencies in different contexts supports life like that, a working life like that. So the benefits then of using these frameworks, there are very clear expectations that I've already mentioned, that they articulate performance and can make it more tangible and concrete with real descriptions. But they can also help individuals and organizations understand those skills. So it can improve a focus on what people need help with, what people need to be able to do, and alignment with learning and development strategies. Also, the key competence frameworks are perfect for facilitating personal and professional development in key priority areas. There are very few jobs these days that don't mention digital and sustainability considerations. You know, they're huge features of all our lives every day. the granular articulation of these competencies in terms of learning outcomes at different levels can really help people to develop personal and professional planning and be very clear about what it is that they need to do next. And this clarity and alignment and the tools associated with these frameworks can really help organizational efficiency.
Okay.
So life competence. Tell you about one of the first of the 4 frameworks. It's about personal, social, and learning to learn competences. It's a conceptual framework setting out those essential skills which are crucial for lifelong development and active participation in society. There are 3 strands on this framework: the personal strand, the social strand, and the learning to learn strand. You can see there in the image in the top right corner of my slide that the 3 competencies which sit within each of those 3 pillars. So you'll see in the personal column, it's self-regulation, flexibility, well-being, social, empathy, communication and collaboration, and so on. So the frameworks work similarly in that way, in the sense that they have high-level areas or pillars under which sit clusters of competence. So it highlights critical skills like self-awareness, empathy, collaboration, and resilience, supporting individuals to navigate social complexities. We talk very often about a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. How do we prepare learners for life in a world like that, with a toolkit of these competences, which they can use across all areas of their lives? It's not prescriptive, LifeComp, and I mentioned that these frameworks are designed to be used flexibly, and it can serve as a foundation for integrating these competences across different curricula. They're very easy to slot into other existing activities. You could find many of these competences in a family having dinner around the table. You know, this is really everyday stuff. So how does using LifeComp help equality, diversity, and inclusion then? So it fosters empathy and understanding. So emphasizing social and emotional learning, LifeComp helps individuals understand and appreciate diverse perspectives. And that understanding of each other, that understanding of each other's needs, the fact that we understand how different we all are, not just in terms of hair color and preferences and allergies, you know, we differ in so many ways. An understanding of that can help us to grow tolerance and to be more empathetic with our peers. Equity can be achieved through using LifeComp through self-regulation. So encouraging individuals to recognize personal biases and approach interactions respectfully to enhance equity and fairness. With the focus on communication, collaboration, and teamwork, it can support inclusion through ways of working together more effectively. But also, LifeComp can help educators create learning experiences that validate and support diverse backgrounds and experiences. As we increasingly invite contributions and leadership from learners, then in that way we can grow to appreciate contributions from groups who are often not heard, who are often underrepresented. So Green Comp then is the framework for sustainability competences, and it contains the knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed to foster a sustainability mindset. And there are 12 competences categorized into 4 areas. Those 4 areas are embodying sustainability values, thinking critically about sustainability, acting responsibly, and enabling sustainable change. So Green Comp then, because of the approaches associated with competence learning, which Olena will be telling you more about when she shares scaffold, Green Comp empowers learners from all backgrounds to engage with sustainability. So learners of all ages, of all abilities, are able to hop onto the framework at their appropriate point and to learn more about and develop their competent skills. The structure and design of the framework prompts discussion and promotes diverse perspectives. It can be thought-provoking and helps learners to consider solutions to problems which are more inclusive and equitable. Again, because of the design of the framework, it's designed for lifelong learning, so it doesn't discriminate in terms of age. It makes this important contemporary learning available to all ages. And it also encourages, and we hope inspires people to become more proactive in their communities with environmental initiatives. So DigComp then is the digital competence framework for citizens, and it has 5 areas and 21 competences. So there's plenty of information there, plenty of support, plenty of resources and advice that run alongside these frameworks. And you will recognize probably the areas on this framework: problem solving, information and data literacy, communicating, collaborating online, digital content creation and safety, online safety and cybersecurity. Critically important to our lives today. So DigComp can support equality, diversity and inclusion by bridging this digital divide. So it helps educators to identify gaps in digital access and also the skills that people need to be able to participate fully in a digital world. All the frameworks, including DigComp, support differentiated learning. So very often across, say, for example, using DigComp as an example, across those 5 pillars, learners will very often have what we call a spiky profile, different levels in the different competences. So we can really personalize learning and differentiate learning by selecting learning outcomes at levels, different levels appropriate to different learners with different spiky profiles. The framework emphasizes responsible digital behavior, fostering safer, more respectful online environment. Very, very useful. And then last but not least, it's our EntreComp. It's the competence for entrepreneurial, the competence framework for entrepreneurship, developing entrepreneurial competences and an entrepreneurial mindset. So it's got the 3 high-level areas: ideas and opportunities, resources and into action, and 5 competencies under each. But it's very much the framework that can help us to turn ideas into action, to bring ideas to life. If I was feeling more whimsical, I would say it can make dreams come true. You can start off with a dream, you can start off with a vision, and if by using these competences, you can bring that vision to life with concrete actions, creating value of different types in the real world. So it can promote social inclusion in the sense that because of the creativity and the innovation, very often learners are invited to respond in different ways. For example, our work with EntreComp in schools, we always invite pupils to present and record what they've learned in whichever way they like. So they can come up with stories or songs or films or a performance or a digital asset. And that creativity becomes very inclusive because pupils are able to work to their strengths. They're able to make choices. And that celebration of diversity is very stimulating. And we're having a lot of fun with that at the moment with a group of 12 schools in Wales where we've been doing a number of different projects with them, but we invite them to present and report their learning to each other in lots of different ways. And it's very heartening because what you find is the pupils are going over the knowledge content many times, but in so many different modalities, in video, or we're looking at images or posters, that by the time the knowledge is really well rooted and well understood. Let's think. So also, EntreComp is great for people who have ideas that they want to bring to life, as I mentioned, and very often for neurodiverse people, many neurodiverse people become entrepreneurs through necessity because they need to work in particular ways, and being an entrepreneur, having your own business or your self-employment, using these competences can be more suitable or more appropriate for people with very specific needs. This framework particularly empowers underrepresented groups through that ability to self-assess and target those spiky profiles. You can really build confidence and resilience in learners and encourage them to participate in the workforce and community. And also for many learners who may not have done very well with traditional high stakes qualifications, examinations and very formal traditional types of schooling, they are able to recognize and celebrate their ability using these frameworks in terms which are very valuable in the workplace. And then finally, as I've mentioned before, supports lifelong learning. So that application of all the frameworks across education, social and work contexts ensure that individuals continue to develop their skills throughout their lives. So how can managers use these key competence frameworks then to promote equality, diversity and inclusion and transversal skills? So, well, integrating DigComp for inclusive practices, use DigComp to improve digital literacy within teams, because there are so many amazing tools available to work in practice now, but which require digital skills. Speech to text, text to speech, creating images, AI tutors, AI coaches. There are so many tools available that digital skills are really important in the EDI space, I would say. And that can promote equality. Also using DigComp as that benchmark to assess and address digital skills gaps in the workforce. It's much easier to buddy people up. If you know who can do what and who needs help doing what, you can put people together in working teams so that they can learn from each other in a buddy type situation. So LifeComp, then you can use LifeComp with it to build teams as a part of teamwork, to build that empathy and self-regulation and collaboration. But also embedding LifeComp into team building activities can really encourage diverse perspectives and help those team members develop their self-awareness and respect for diversity. So EntreComp then, I think I've already mentioned, really great skills. And these are, the skills in EntreComp are increasingly becoming visible as the ones that people need in the future, because they're the ones that AI can't do. They're those skills which are less likely to be automated. These are the things that make us uniquely human, that robots are less able to do as well, So yeah, and also we can use EntreComp to foster an inclusive and innovative company culture. So then what else could managers do then? They can use these frameworks to assess, develop, validate and recognize EDI competences. You can use them to assess progress, developing a system for assessing these skills frameworks, identifying strengths and areas for improvement. And these spiky profiles I mentioned can be a really nice way of showing that everybody is good at something and everybody is good at different things. You know, we're not all good at the same things, thankfully. We've all got different strengths, and we can use the frameworks to recognize those more easily. Also, supporting inclusive talent development, we can use the frameworks to set out clear pathways for personal and professional growth, and we can align working practices to society's needs, increasingly fostering inclusive practices that resonate with changing social expectations. And that's, I hope I haven't gone over my time there. I think that's 15 minutes. Any questions?
Also at the I mean, you also mentioned the practical application of such frameworks in the business context, because in the end, this is what our project is aiming to do. I would like maybe to ask again our participants if there is something that was maybe not so clear, or if you would like to have further suggestions or explanation, don't be shy. You can always use the chat as well. And maybe you can like brainstorm a bit. And in the meantime, I will hand over to Olena. Oh, and to Olena. And please, Anastasiis, unmute her as well.
Hello, everybody. I see many names. I don't see the people, unfortunately, but I hope to see everyone at the end live. And I would like to say who I am, maybe two words. Elisabetta already mentioned that my name is Olena Bekh, and I'm leading the team which is working on the innovation in teaching and learning in lifelong learning perspective at the European Training Foundation, which is the EU agency. We are part of the European Commission, but we are all experts, let's say, who are working with the countries outside of the EU, 28 partner countries. And we're working on a variety of issues. And if I now open my presentation, I will make you see what are the issues that we are, yeah, that one. Okay, please let me know if my screen is now okay. Yeah, is it? Yeah. Okay, super. So I would like to start by saying that the name Creating New Learning that you can see on this in the screen is the name of our team, and it focuses on new learning, which is the term is not so new, because the first time we discovered that the first time people started talking about new learning in the 16th century. So we are not that new with it. And we dig into various aspects of how people learn these days. So what is new? Who are the educators, who are the teachers, trainers, those who support learners in these days? And also who are the learners of these days, and what are the learning environments? What are the situations in which we learn, and how do we learn? So in this journey, we are looking at the lifelong learning perspective and life-wide perspective, of course, that lasts all our lives, as Hazel was saying, that it's not too early to start learning, and it's not too late to do it. And also, we also base our work on the assumption that anyone can learn different competencies. Of course, it's also a proven fact that we can learn singing at any age if we have vocal cords, if we have ears to hear the sound. But to become a really talented singer, one needs to have other abilities. But the same way, those qualities like creativity and in innovative mindset and entrepreneurial behavior and various digital competences, everything could be learned. because in this case we just need to have some guidance on where to focus our learning, and it's very important to take an active position in your own learning. And the good news is that also for managers or for educators or for any types of learners, it's the key competences are equally important. And Hazel was describing the different areas of key competences, but also I would like to emphasize the learner agency, the ability to plan, to guide your own learning, to keep being motivated, and to make sure that learning continues throughout our lives. We actually are talking about 4 key competences, 4 competence frameworks. But the European Commission has developed 3 frameworks out of the 8 key competences, which are defined as the most important competences for all citizens of the European Union. And among these key competences, the DICCOMP, the ENTRECOMP, and LIFECOMP were the competences which are relatively new as they are defined, and they are very important in terms of our ability to keep our success of our lives in our own hands. And so the scaffold that I will be explaining to you a little bit later what the tool is based on these 4 competences: the DICCOMP, the ENTRECOMP, the LIFECOMP, and GreenComp. Why are we talking about these competences, the green, the ENTRECOMP, the LIFECOMP, and the other? How did we define the specific competences which were mentioned when Hazel was explaining? There has been a lot of work going on. There was a lot of studies, a lot of surveys, and for example, the World Economic Forum has been defining the top 10 skills that people need for the future of jobs, for the future jobs. And so if you look at the 2015, look at the 3 top skills: complex problem solving, coordinating with the others, people's management. These were the top qualities that the employers, big employers, were looking for in their employees. In 2020, the critical thinking pops up. No, it's now the second place, and creativity suddenly from 10th place jumps to the 3rd place. But then if we look at 23, analytical thinking is the top one, creative thinking is the second one, resilience, flexibility, and agility become the 3rd place, and motivation and self-awareness go on the 4th place. And look at the 5th place: curiosity and lifelong learning. So what we are doing now, what we are discussing today, is one of the top abilities of the people that are required were required in 2023. And then let's look at 27. This was defined last year, around a year ago. So still, analytical thinking is important. Creative thinking is important. AI and big data was already on the 3rd place a year ago. And you remember that this year represents a revolution in AI practically. Leadership and social influence, resilience, flexibility, and agility are still among the top 5. So as you can see, there is a dynamic, and the top 5, top 10, they change all the time as we go ahead, as we experience different shocks from the external environment, geopolitical changes, the digital revolution, etc. And if we look at these key competences, this list, would you recognize any of them among those which Hazel mentioned, for instance, or among those which you would be discussing in different meetings on different occasions? That, for instance, people need to be able to search for information and digital content. They would like to be able to frame the problems and to define the solutions, to develop self-efficacy and self-awareness, to be able to collaborate digitally and collaborate face-to-face, to manage their learning, to have empathy, etc. So these are the different competences that we would have a long, long list. But if you look at them in colors, the colors would represent how they belong to different frameworks. And if you see, for example, the D1 and D3 and D10, the orange competences, they belong to the digital competence framework, to DICCOMP. And if you look at the purple squares, like the self-awareness, the E6 or E10, mobilizing the others, and creativity, E2, they are the ENTRECOMP. And then if you look at the green, light green ones, self-regulation, well-being, empathy, managing learning. These are the life comp. And promoting nature, futures literacy, value and sustainability. These are the green competencies. So they are, as you look at them, they have been placed into different frameworks. Why? We ask ourselves. It's because we want to have some instruments. Because before we define clearly our concepts, how can we manage learning? How can we set goals, and how can we drive our own learning, or how can we support the learners if we don't have the breakdown, some granular image of these competences? And the way they are broken down in the frameworks is not the top art or top science result, because this is just an agreement between experts. I've been participating in the development of the competence frameworks in all of them practically, because when EntreComp was launched, I was reviewing it before its launch and providing comments. On DigComp, I'm working now within the group of experts who are defining the learning outcomes for DigComp, and I was part of LifeComp and GreenComp development as an expert. So believe me, in many cases, the definition of the competences is just a compromise achieved by experts, and they are not the golden bullet, and they cannot be seen as the standard that you have to really use and apply to assessment, etc. They are for reference. They are to inspire, they are to show the way, and they are to help us define the learning objectives. So let's remember also this small set of transversal competencies. I will name them all: critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, communication and negotiation, analytical skills, creativity, and intercultural skills. These 7 are transversal because they are present in all competence frameworks in different way. And if you think of teamwork, there could be teamwork when you interact with the others and you demonstrate entrepreneurial skills for certain projects, for building entrepreneurial teams and achieving certain goals. Innovation, for example. But if you work in digital environment, then you would need digital teamwork, which is slightly different from the one which is happening in the normal non-digital circumstances, etc. So to tell you about Scaffold. Scaffold is a joint product. It's a baby of 2 partner organizations. It's the ETF, which I represent, and the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. It's a Directorate General, and we developed the Scaffold together. It took us 3 years. And this is the tool that helps, first of all those who support learners. So why did we create Scaffold? Because as we were showing you with Hazel, the different frameworks, there is multiple set of competences in each framework. The EntreComp has 15 competences. The DigComp has 21. And if you imagine that EntreComp has 8 levels and 15 competences, that means that it's more than 400 learning outcomes across these 8 levels. And so for teachers, if you give them the frameworks themselves, and if you tell them now you need to integrate it into the curricula, the people are really, the teachers, the trainers, the coaches, the mentors, they're all very busy people. So they would not have time to really master all the frameworks and all the instruments. They need to have some solutions that would help them. And also the way you integrate frameworks require a little bit of scientific approach. So what we did in our work, we decided to produce a tool which would apply a step-by-step approach to support the teachers, the trainers, is both in formal education or in non-formal learning, in any training of adults or children or young adults. So it's an approach which guides you through step-by-step process, and also it helps you to play with the physical cards. They are, I don't know if you see me in the screen. Am I visible? Yeah, okay, I'll show you. So Scaffold is this. It's a box. It's like we were thinking of the tarot cards, you know, so the size. And it's a set of cards, which is like this. This is the back side. And then you have the front side. So what we did, these cards are the physical cards, which you could put on the table, or you could stick them to the wall, to the board. And this scaffold, the teacher could play. These cards are not for the learners. They are for those who design training, who design curricula, who design learning experiences, who support learners in the development of key competences, using the frameworks that were presented to you today, but at the same time making this process very easy, so that teachers would be able to do it without really becoming masters of frameworks of key competences. And of course, it's always nice to have a gamification format, so that it becomes also pleasant. So what is a scaffold? I showed you the box. It's 102 cards. And as I said, it could be applied in any circumstances. You could apply it to designing one training session, one lesson. You could apply it for your own learning. You can really use it for yourself, or you can design the whole course using the cards, and you will see later how it is done. These are the 4 frameworks that were the basis for creating the cards. So we comprised digital, entrepreneurial, the life comp, which is personal, social, and learning to learn competence, and the competences for sustainability, which is green comp. And now this is the structure of the scaffold. So scaffold cards, I will show you, for instance, when we talk about the setting cards. Setting and planning cards are like this. So they are horizontal, gray color, and setting cards help the teacher or the trainer, the coach, to look at the different components of the future training activity or curricula and decide what is the duration, what's the topic, what is the target audience, what was the space where the learning will be taking place. So to focus your mind on the future course, on the future activity. The planning cards are numbered. So they are from 1 to 7. And they are helping to decide, for example, to choose the competences that will be developed. For example, if it's somebody who is teaching science, they can use the competences to integrate, through these cards, integrate the digital or entrepreneurship or green competences, or all together into the learning canvas, into the canvas of the learning program. And they can help to define the competence level, to choose the teaching methods, the assessment methods, etc. And then we have the cards for the competences. So if entrecomp is purple color, then there are 15 competences, we have 15 cards. And on the card, we have different elements. So we tell the name of the competence. We have the number. Since this is entrecomp, we have E1, entrecomp 1, competence 1, entrecomp 2, entrecomp 3. And then we have here a very important element, because here it says good with. So through these indexes, it's good with D1, D11, D10, etc., which means this competence could be developed with the digital competence 1, digital competence 11, digital competence 10, and also with the green competence 5, green competence 6, life competence, etc. Having these indications, we can take all the important cards which are good with this one, put them in front of us and see, okay, so these are the compatible competences. Like in real life, we don't just develop digital content because we decide to develop digital content. We develop it because we are doing something, because we want to create a curricula, or because we would like to create some website, or we'd like to create a learning program, or we are working on some community-based initiative. So we are using digital competence creation competence to do something with it. That's why in the learning process, we also combine the competences, and you could be working on certain initiative and applying the entrepreneurship competence, spotting opportunities, and applying digital competence, for example, analyzing digital content or collaborating digitally, etc., etc. And you could be using other competences. And also on each card, we have a symbol which links it to the transversal competence. So for instance, we have all the cards which have a symbol like a heart or a cross or a square, which links it to the 7 key transversal competence that I was showing you on my slide before, to the For example, negotiation and communication, teamwork, creativity, etc. And then we have the teaching methods cards, which help you to understand how to develop these competences. On each card, we also have a hint which activities could help you to develop the competence. And also we have assessment method competences. So the assessment competence cards, which helps you to decide how to design the entry assessment, the formative assessment, the reflection, and the final assessment. So this is the main stuff that I wanted to tell you about the scaffold cards. And we have the QR codes, which I'm sure that my presentation will be shared. And you will be able to go to the source information about the scaffold. The scaffold cards at the moment are, just let me stop sharing so that I could, okay. So in this case, I would say we cannot send the individual packs of scaffold around the world, but we have color versions, PDF versions that could be printed by by those who would like to print them, and they can be used on the spot. Okay, so Elizabeth, I'm happy to provide the responses on anything.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Olena. I think that actually the presentation was very interesting as well. And as said before, should you have should all the participants, if you have any questions or doubts, please feel free to use the chat. In the meantime, maybe to break the ice a bit, I have a question maybe to both of you. Because I know that, if I'm not mistaken, both of you contributed to the development of this tool of scaffold. You were both authors. So do you think scaffold could be integrated in the workplace, in a company, maybe as a team building activity, as a tool to boost team building? Or how do you see this application?
I can start. It has been integrated many times. And for instance, I've been asked to run team building activities using scaffold already. And people always enjoyed it. Scaffold already exists in many languages. So I think this also helps to integrate it with different local communities and local networks. But it's also very easy because it's very modular. So you can use from a couple of slides to inspire one activity to build in the whole mind map of different competences that could be piece by piece, step by step developed throughout a longer period. But also for the workshop, it's very easy to apply. It's self-learning based, I think, intuitive. Hazel wants to add something.
Yes, it's ways of working. I mean, it can be used for all sorts of different activities. I really like the suggestions. I mean, you could use the assessment methods for performance management. I think the teaching methods can be very useful for lots of team activities, inside work and maybe for team building, as Olena said. Yes, but plenty.
This is actually the second time I heard of scaffold. I have never used it myself, but I will check for sure, the PDF version, so that maybe I can suggest this tool in the company as well. It's always interesting to know more tools. And yeah, Olena.
Elisabetta, the scaffold did not exist before. It took us 3 years to develop it, but
Yeah.
it was launched only a year ago.
Okay,
So it's
only
very
1
new,
year ago.
but for example, I'm running workshops on scaffold every month, sometimes twice a month, because people ask for it, and it has been used also by big projects. For example, Hazel is involved in the project in Central Asia, where 5 countries are having a massive massive training of teachers. I am also leading the work in Ukraine, where we are applying it to a huge teacher training cascade model. And it has been also used by many volunteers who are just champions, who are just doing it themselves and contact us for help, for collaboration, etc. But we do use it for workshops every time. Yeah,
Nice.
Rosanna wants to ask something.
Yeah.
From Armenia.
And Anastasis, maybe can we give Rosanna the possibility to ask her? Okay, here you go.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you very much. Both presentations were very informative. I just have a question for the second one. So besides teaching, I'm also working with teachers, and we're doing planning teacher trainings and planning lessons, helping teachers. I just have a question, like scaffolding. So when I use scaffolding, it's a pack, yes? And when we, for example, when we plan the lesson, so as I understood, we need to use all the 5 steps, yes? Setting, planning. I mean, we need to integrate all these 5 steps, 5 groups, or they are quite separate. I just didn't understand this part.
Rosanna, this is an excellent question. Thank you very much. It's very easy, because you need to use these steps when you learn how to use scaffold. So to understand how to use the tool, you as a teacher, as a trainer, you take it, you sit and look at it and think, okay, so where do I start? And you have these 2 sets, the setting and the planning cards, that guide you on how to start. So you need to think about who are your audiences, which age group, which level of competences, are they the same age group or different ones, etc., etc. And then also at certain point, they would be, the cards would not be needed, all of them. Also, if you look at, you decide today, I'm focusing on developing creativity as a transversal competence. So you go for all the cards which develop creativity. For example, you find 20. Then you say, okay, I don't need 20. Today I need this one, and this one. And the rest I throw away for the moment. And I focus my learning activity on those, because each of them is connected to more, and the one connected to more. So it's mind map. And you can select, you can zoom into what you have, and it's you who decides which cards to use and which cards to ignore. Or maybe you would develop into phases. And for instance, I have my favorite competences. I believe that critical thinking is the top competence that we need to all have. So I would, for example, start one workshop with critical thinking, and I would use the digital competence and life competence, etc., to complement it and to show how this works.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, nowadays our education in Armenia, our education system is undergoing reforms, and just based on these reforms, the teacher is supposed to develop 8 competencies for any subject teacher, and the competencies are nearly the same, like digital, civic, language, problem solving, analytical. And thank you very much. It was very interesting and very useful. So I'm going to try. And like, for example, let's take planning learning. So I choose which card is I need for this or that lesson. Yes, I have different ideas. I choose.
And you use the connections as hints for you. They show you what you could use. But it's you who decides whether you need this one or that one. And we work with Armenia. I wanted to tell you that for you, for your country, there is also an opportunity to collaborate with us, because Armenia is our country, our partner countries for which we work. So we also focus now these days on the formative assessment with your colleagues, which is another important aspect for teachers. And we have assessment cards in the scaffold, just 7 of them. I forgot to mention maybe 2 resources that also could be used by after this MOOC. First of all, we are developing now a training course on scaffold, which will have several modules. It will have the key competence module. So there will be a module which will help the learners to learn knowledge, to have to develop knowledge, skills, and attitudes for being competent on key competences. Then about the 4 frameworks and about the scaffold. And it will have a test, so it's a full-fledged course. And also, scaffold has a guide, a full guide. It's a big one. It's on the JRC website. You will see the QR code, and you will see on the on ETF we have a page on scaffold. In the QR code that I left on the last page, you will find the link to the ETF webpage. From there, you can go also to the full guide, which is on the JRC website. And both Hazel and myself were contributed to that guide. And it has a lot of material about the assessment, about the teaching methods. So it gives you more material to support you when you apply scaffold.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rosanna. And I just shared in the chat the direct link to the ETF page where you can find all the information mentioned by Olena. So there is like the presentation, the guide, and more and more information on it. And so at this point, if everything is clear and we do not have any other questions from the audience, I would like to thank again our two excellent speakers for today, Olena and Hazel. It's been a great pleasure hosting you, and both presentations were very insightful and useful. As said at the beginning, the webinar is being recorded and it will be shared in the platform to all the learners so that they can go back to the presentation and watch it again. And so thank you again for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure today. And wishing you good luck.
Thank you. Yes, enjoyed. Yes, enjoy the course, everybody. Have fun. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a million.